Look, I'm going to be honest with you because somebody needs to say it. I've spent a lot of time in California, way more than I planned to. And there's a pattern I keep noticing on real estate sites. Certain towns keep popping up with prices that just don't make sense for this state. Like, your brain literally pauses and goes, wait, why is that house only that much? So I started visiting these places myself, and once you're standing there in person, the reason becomes really obvious, really fast. Today I'm breaking down 15 California towns where the cheap price tag is hiding something serious. And trust me, by the end of this list, you'll understand exactly what's going on. Quick favor first. Tap that subscribe button so the next one finds you. Number 15. Barstow Drive, the I-15 between LA and Vegas, and you'll pass through Barstow. Cheap houses, big lots, desert views, looks great on Zillow. Don't do it. Barstow has consistently ranked in the top 20 California cities for violent crime. With a population of around 25,000, your odds of being a victim of violent crime sit at roughly 1 in 22, which is brutal. Property crime is even worse. Theft, burglary, and vandalism are constant complaints from locals. But crime isn't the only problem. The economy is gutted. The town was built around the railroad and Route 66 tourism. The railroad jobs are mostly gone. Route 66 traffic disappeared decades ago when the interstate opened, and what's left is a long stretch of abandoned motels, boarded-up gas stations, and half-empty strip malls. There are abandoned new construction housing tracts on the edge of town that were never finished. Entire streets of empty foundations. The summer heat regularly hits 110 to 115 degrees. Your electric bill in July is brutal, and there's almost nothing to do. The nearest real shopping is over an hour away in Victorville. Healthcare is limited. Schools struggle. The hospital has had ongoing staffing issues. Yes, you can buy a 3-bedroom house for under $200,000, but you'll be living in a town that most locals are trying to leave, surrounded by emptiness, in a climate that's getting hotter every year. Barstow is the textbook example of cheap for a reason. And the reason is that almost no one with options chooses to stay. Number 14. Needles. Right on the Arizona border, on the Colorado River, sits Needles, one of the hottest inhabited places in the United States. Summer temperatures regularly hit 120 degrees. In 2021, the town had a literal water crisis where state officials had to rush emergency funding to keep taps from running dry. Home prices here are stunning. You can find houses under $150,000. But here's what you don't see on the listing. The town has been hit by drought, extreme heat, failing infrastructure, and water insecurity all at once. The Colorado River keeps shrinking. The pipes that bring water into town are old and breaking. Summer power outages are common, and when the AC goes out at 118 degrees, it isn't an inconvenience. It's life-threatening. The economy is largely tourism-based, but tourism has been dropping for years. Route 66 nostalgia traffic has dwindled. The old motels along the main strip are mostly empty or shuttered. The population is aging. Young people leave for Phoenix, Vegas, or anywhere with more opportunity. Healthcare access is limited. The nearest major hospital is a long drive. The hospital that used to serve the area closed and reopened under different operators multiple times. Specialist care often requires a trip to Las Vegas or Bullhead City. If you have respiratory issues, the dust and heat will eat you alive. If you have any vulnerability to heat, kids, elderly parents, pets, Needles is genuinely dangerous in summer. Cheap, yes. Livable for most people? Not really.
Number 13. Crescent City Way. Up in the far northwest corner of California, almost in Oregon, sits Crescent City, coastal, foggy, surrounded by redwoods, and shockingly cheap. Houses under $300,000 with ocean views. Sounds amazing. Then you visit. Niche reviews from actual residents describe a large homeless population and a serious drug problem. Reddit threads from people who live in the region note that Del Norte County and surrounding counties rank near the bottom of all California counties for both poverty levels and drug abuse. In 2025, a single sheriff's drug raid in the Crescent City area resulted in 16 arrests with meth, weapons, and cash seized. The economy collapsed after the 1964 tsunami destroyed downtown. and the town has never fully recovered. The lumber industry that once supported the area has shrunk dramatically. What's left is a small fishing economy, the state prison up the road, and tourism that barely sustains a handful of motels. The weather is brutal for people who don't love rain. Crescent City averages 70-plus inches of rain per year and is fogged in much of the summer. Sunshine is rare. Seasonal depression is a real thing here. You're also 5 hours from a major airport, 2.5 hours from a Costco, and the nearest big box healthcare options are limited. The cell signal is patchy in much of the area. There are beautiful corners of Crescent City. But cheap coastal living doesn't tell the full story of what daily life actually looks like for most residents. Go in with eyes open. Number 12, Coalinga halfway. Between LA and the Bay on I-5, you'll spot Coalinga, a small Central Valley town with bargain housing and a unique economic mix. Locals will tell you the four main industries are agriculture, oil, cannabis, and incarceration. That mix should already tell you something. Coalinga sits at the heart of an active oil field operated by Chevron. The smell on certain days, sulfur, petroleum, asphalt, is inescapable. People who move here without visiting in summer often regret it within months. Air quality is poor, with the broader San Joaquin Valley consistently ranking among the most polluted air basins in America. The town hosts Pleasant Valley State Prison and the Coalinga State Hospital, a facility that houses sexually violent predators committed under California law. Whatever your feelings about either, the fact is that the local economy is heavily tied to incarceration jobs, and that shapes the social character of the town in ways prospective buyers often don't think about until they're already living there. Summer temperatures regularly hit 105 to 110 degrees, and the valley fog traps pollution in winter. There's not much to do. A handful of restaurants, one main shopping street, and a long drive to Fresno or the coast for anything else. Yes, homes are cheap. You can buy a starter home for under $250,000. But the combination of heat, oil field air quality, limited amenities, and the heavy prison economy makes Coalinga a tough sell for most people. Cheap is not always a bargain. Number 11, Adelanto. Out in the high desert, off the 395, sits Adelanto, a town that became infamous as one of California's biggest cannabis cultivation hubs and home to a controversial federal immigration detention center. Houses here can be found for well under $300,000, sometimes under $250,000. The catch is significant. Adelanto has wrestled with political corruption scandals, with multiple city officials facing federal charges over the years connected to cannabis licensing. The town's infrastructure has historically struggled to keep up with its rapid growth. Roads, water, sewer, public services all stretched thin. The town sits in one of the harshest microclimates in Southern California. Summer temperatures hit 100-plus regularly, winter brings cold desert nights, and wind is constant. Strong enough that locals talk about Adelanto dust that gets into every corner of your house no matter what you do. Healthcare access is limited within the city itself. Most residents drive to Victorville or further for serious medical care. Shopping is sparse. There's a Walmart and a handful of fast food chains, but for anything beyond basics, you're driving 20 to 30 minutes minimum. The population is growing because it's one of the few places in commute range of the Inland Empire where housing is still vaguely affordable, but the trade-offs are real. Long commutes, dust, heat, limited services, and a local political environment that has been anything but stable. If you're moving to Adelanto purely on price, you'll likely find that the hidden costs, commute fuel, AC bills, healthcare drives, vehicle wear on rough roads, eat into your savings faster than you expected. Number 10, Antioch. Antioch is a delta city in eastern Contra Costa County that boomed during the housing rush of the mid-2000s, then got hammered in the 2008 crash, and has been on a bumpy ride ever since. You can still find houses here noticeably cheaper than most of the Bay Area. But here's the recent reality. The Antioch Police Department itself has acknowledged that the city has dealt with significant violent crime issues. Cron 4 reported a major spike in homicides in recent years. At one point, the homicide rate nearly doubled in a single year. The department has reported encouraging recent drops in some categories, but Antioch still ranks among the higher crime cities in the Bay Area. The police department itself has been at the center of a major federal scandal involving misconduct, which led to indictments and a damaged community trust that the city is still trying to rebuild. That kind of institutional damage doesn't get fixed in a year or two. Beyond crime, the commute is brutal. If you work in San Francisco or Silicon Valley, you're looking at 90 minutes to 2 hours each way on a good day. BART access exists but doesn't reach all parts of town, and the parking lots fill early. Summer heat hits 100 plus, and the air quality on bad days is poor because Antioch sits at the eastern edge of the Bay Area's pollution drift. The houses look cheap relative to Walnut Creek or Concord, but the daily reality of crime concerns, long commutes, and slow institutional recovery makes Antioch a town where you really need to know which neighborhood you're moving into, and many people don't bother to find out.
Number 9. Richmond. Richmond sits on the eastern shore of San Francisco Bay, and it's one of those Bay Area cities where you'll see stunning bay views and 1920s craftsman homes for half the price of nearby Berkeley. The historic core is genuinely beautiful. The catch is that Richmond's reputation as a high-crime city has been stubbornly persistent, even though crime has dropped significantly from its 1990s peak. The neighborhood locally called the Iron Triangle, the area bounded by 3 rail lines, has historically been one of the most dangerous areas in the entire Bay Area. North Richmond has long-running problems with violent crime. South Richmond and parts of Central Richmond also have ongoing safety concerns. Industrial pollution is real here. The Chevron Richmond refinery is one of the largest in California, and the 2012 fire that sent thousands to local hospitals is still remembered. Air quality complaints continue, and certain neighborhoods are downwind of the refinery on bad days. Schools have historically underperformed compared to surrounding districts. Property crime, especially car break-ins and catalytic converter theft, is a constant headache. Insurance rates reflect all of this. Now, to be fair, Richmond has been investing heavily in revitalization. Marina Bay is gorgeous. Point Richmond is charming. East Richmond Heights and Richmond Annex are considered safer. The dramatic crime drop over the past 2 decades is real. But if you're moving to Richmond purely because Zillow showed you a bargain, you really need to know exactly which block you're buying on. The difference between a safe Richmond neighborhood and a dangerous one can be literally 2 streets apart, and many out-of-town buyers don't realize that until after they've signed. Number 8. Modesto. Modesto sits in the heart of the Central Valley, and it's one of those cities people keep moving to from the Bay Area because housing is dramatically cheaper. The problem is that you trade Bay Area prices for Central Valley problems, and they're significant. Modesto has long ranked among the most dangerous cities in Northern California based on violent crime per capita. According to Aishleman Law's analysis, Modesto has an extremely high crime rate relative to its size. Local residents consistently warn newcomers to avoid North, South, and West Modesto due to crime concentration. Auto theft has been a particularly stubborn problem. For years, Modesto ranked near the top in the nation for vehicle theft per capita. The Highway Village and Airport neighborhoods have particularly bad reputations among locals. Air quality is a daily issue. The Central Valley traps pollution against the Sierra, and Modesto sits inside that pollution bowl. The American Lung Association consistently ranks the valley among the worst air basins in the country for ozone and particulate pollution. Summer heat is intense, 100 plus for weeks at a time. And the valley fog in winter is so thick that highway pileups, the famous Tule fog crashes, make winter driving genuinely dangerous. The economy has improved compared to a decade ago, but Modesto still has high unemployment relative to coastal California, and the gap between affordable neighborhoods and safe affordable neighborhoods is wider than most newcomers realize. If you're moving here from out of state and just looking at house prices, you can land in a rough neighborhood without knowing it. Always visit in person, drive at night, talk to locals before signing anything. Number 7. Bakersfield. Bakersfield is the largest city in Kern County, the heart of California's oil industry, and one of the cheapest major cities in the entire state. You can buy a real 3-bedroom house here for under $350,000. Practically a fantasy by California standards. Then you breathe. The American Lung Association has ranked the Bakersfield-Delano area as the 3rd worst city in America for ozone pollution, and it consistently lands at or near the #1 spot for year-round particulate pollution. KGET reported the area ranks #1 nationwide for worst air pollution by some measures. This isn't an abstract problem. If you have asthma, heart disease, diabetes, or any respiratory condition, Bakersfield will measurably shorten your life. Children's asthma rates here are among the highest in the country. Pediatricians treating Valley kids see lung capacity issues that doctors in coastal cities rarely see. Summer heat hits 105 to 110 routinely for months. Winter tulle fog is dangerously thick. Wildfires from the Sierra and coastal ranges push smoke directly into the valley. Crime is also a real factor in some neighborhoods. Oildale, just north of Bakersfield, has a long-standing reputation for rough living, drugs, and property crime. South Bakersfield and parts of East Bakersfield have ongoing crime concerns. There are good reasons people move to Bakersfield: strong housing affordability, good food culture, friendly people, low cost of living overall. But the air quality issue alone is significant enough that anyone with a young child, an elderly parent, or any respiratory vulnerability should think very, very carefully. Cheap is one thing. Trading your lungs for a low mortgage is another. Number 6. Fresno. Fresno is the largest city in California's Central Valley, and it's been a magnet for affordability seekers for years. You can buy a nice home here for under $400,000 in many neighborhoods. But Fresno wraps the same valley problems as Modesto and Bakersfield into one bigger package. Air quality is the headline issue. IQR notes, Fresno has consistently ranked among the top 10 most polluted cities in California for years. The American Lung Association regularly ranks Fresno among the worst U.S. cities for both ozone and particle pollution. A UC Merced fact sheet found 43% of surveyed Fresno residents report chronic health conditions, and 61% report trouble resting due to air pollution and truck traffic. Crime is also a real concern in many parts of the city. Fresno's overall property and violent crime rates regularly exceed state averages. Specific neighborhoods on the west and southeast sides have ongoing safety concerns. The summer heat is brutal. Multiple weeks of 105+ is normal, and recent summers have brought stretches above 110. Wildfire smoke from the Sierra blankets the city for weeks in late summer, layering on top of the existing pollution. The poverty rate is significantly higher than the California average, and homelessness in downtown Fresno is highly visible. Schools struggle in certain districts. There are absolutely good parts of Fresno. North Fresno and Clovis are well regarded, the food scene is strong, and proximity to Yosemite, Sequoia, and Kings Canyon is unbeatable. But if you're moving on price alone, you need to understand that the health costs of valley living, air, heat, wildfire smoke, can be steep and cumulative. Number 5. Salinas. Salinas is the Steinbeck Country agricultural capital of California, the salad bowl of America, surrounded by some of the most productive farmland on Earth. Housing here is cheaper than nearby Monterey or Carmel, and the climate is genuinely pleasant. Cool summers, mild winters. So why is it on this list? Gang violence. Salinas has had a long, documented struggle with gang activity, particularly Norteño-affiliated gangs concentrated in the east side and parts of the south side. The U.S. Attorney's Office has filed major RICO indictments against gangs operating in Acosta Plaza and East Salinas. Federal Operation Dead End netted 20 East Salinas gang suspects in a single recent sweep. The infamous Murder Squad terrorized the city from 2015 to 2018, killing at least 11 people in a sustained crime spree. The KSBW report on that case alone is enough to make any newcomer pause. Salinas police and federal agents have run multiple joint operations targeting gang violence, and crime has dropped from its worst peaks. But the city consistently ranks among the higher violent cities in California by per capita measures. Beyond crime, the economy is heavily agriculture dependent. Wages in ag work are low, housing relative to wages is brutal. Salinas has one of the worst housing cost-to-income ratios in California, and many farm worker families live in severely overcrowded conditions. Healthcare access is decent but stretched. Schools vary widely. The East Side and certain South Side neighborhoods are the ones longtime locals warn newcomers about. Salinas has gorgeous surrounding country and an authentic working-class character. But moving here without understanding the neighborhood-by-neighborhood reality is a mistake you'll feel quickly.
Number 4, Compton sits in southern Los Angeles County, and its name carries decades of cultural weight thanks to music, movies, and headlines. The reputation isn't entirely deserved. Compton today is dramatically different from Compton in the 1980s and 90s. Crime has dropped significantly from its peak. The current Compton is largely a working-class Latino city with strong community pride, but, and this matters, Compton still ranks among the more dangerous cities in California per capita, and gangs remain deeply embedded in the city, according to the Bureau of Justice Assistance's own assessments of the area. The Public Safety Partnership has been working with Compton specifically to address that embedded gang activity. The NBER published a major academic study of Compton between 2021 and 2023, focused on the impact of guaranteed income programs on low-income households there. The study exists because Compton has persistent structural low-income concentration that researchers want to understand. Property crime, especially car theft and burglary, is a daily reality in many neighborhoods. Auto insurance rates reflect this. Homeowners insurance can be tough to secure on favorable terms. Air quality is also poor. Compton sits in a corridor of freight truck traffic, refineries, and industrial activity that has documented health impacts on residents. You can buy a house in Compton for noticeably less than in nearby cities like Long Beach or Lakewood. But before you do, drive every street of your target block day and night. Talk to neighbors honestly and understand that the choice isn't about the Compton of straight outta Compton. It's about the specific block where you'll be living, parking, and walking your kids to school. Number 3, San Bernardino. San Bernardino, the seat of the largest county in the lower 48, has had a famously difficult run. The city filed for bankruptcy in 2012, one of the largest municipal bankruptcies in U.S. history at the time, and has been climbing back ever since. Housing here is some of the cheapest in Southern California. A YouTube documentary titled, "I Went to the Most Dangerous City in California, My Hometown," about San Bernardino has racked up massive views and asks how things got this bad. The crime rate across San Bernardino County rose 12% between 2023 and 2024, according to the county's own community indicators dashboard. Specific neighborhoods within the city have ongoing significant violent crime concerns. UC Berkeley's Othering and Belonging Institute documented that 8 places in the Inland Empire region, largely in San Bernardino County, saw double-digit increases in poverty rates in recent years. That's a region in genuine economic distress. The school district has been through difficult periods. Infrastructure investment has lagged. The local economy still hasn't fully recovered from the loss of Norton Air Force Base in the 1990s and decades of industrial decline. Air quality in the Inland Empire is poor. The basin traps pollution against the San Bernardino Mountains. Summer heat hits 105+ regularly. Wildfire risk in the surrounding mountains has grown. There are absolutely safe, decent neighborhoods in and around San Bernardino, and the city has worked hard to recover. But if you're moving here purely because Zillow showed you a $300,000 home, you need to understand that you're moving into a city that has been fighting structural problems for 30 years, and the gap between cheap neighborhoods and safe cheap neighborhoods can be significant. Number 2, Stockton. Stockton holds a tough distinction. Forbes once named it the most miserable city in America. The city famously filed for bankruptcy in 2012, becoming one of the largest U.S. municipal bankruptcies in history. PBS reported that the median income in Stockton was just 2/3 of the California average, and the city has struggled for decades with some of the state's highest crime rates. Stockton is consistently ranked among the most dangerous cities in California by FBI violent crime data and frequently appears on national lists of the most dangerous cities in the United States. The Brownstone Law analysis of California's most dangerous cities places Stockton near the top. The Huffington Post report from the bankruptcy era documented how police cuts during the financial crisis left Stockton's poor mired in violence, and while the city has made progress since then, the structural challenges remain real. Many residents report ongoing concerns about safety, schools, and economic opportunity. Air quality is poor. Stockton sits in the northern Central Valley pollution corridor. Summer heat is intense. The Delta channels create unique microclimates but also mosquito problems. The schools have improved in places but still struggle district-wide. The job market has diversified, but wages haven't kept up with the housing cost increases that have pushed Bay Area refugees into the region. Yes, Stockton has affordable homes. Yes, it has dedicated communities trying to rebuild it. But the decades of accumulated problems, high crime, struggling schools, post-bankruptcy budget constraints, and the burden of being labeled America's most miserable city mean that moving here requires very clear eyes about what you're walking into. Number 1. Oakland. Number 1 might surprise you because Oakland isn't even cheap by national standards, but compared to San Francisco and Berkeley, it can look like a relative bargain. And that bargain comes at a cost that, according to U.S. News, makes Oakland the second most dangerous city in the entire United States, behind only Memphis. That's not a clickbait headline. That's U.S. News and World Report's 2026 to 2027 rankings. Brownstone Law's analysis of FBI violent crime data names Oakland the most dangerous city in California by overall crime rate, with violent crime running over 300 per 100,000 residents per PPIC 2025 data. Specific Oakland neighborhoods, parts of East Oakland and West Oakland, have ongoing serious violent crime issues that local police, the city, and county leaders have openly acknowledged. Crime.org ranks Oakland in the 15th percentile for safety, meaning it's safer than only 15% of U.S. cities. Beyond the violent crime headlines, property crime is the everyday reality. Catalytic converter theft, car break-ins, package theft, and bike theft are constant. Insurance rates reflect this. Many residents simply expect to have their car broken into at some point. Schools have struggled district-wide. The city government has had ongoing budget and leadership challenges. Several major retailers have closed Oakland locations, citing safety and theft concerns. Now, to be balanced, Oakland is also one of the most culturally vibrant, diverse, beautiful cities in America. The Hills neighborhoods, Rockridge, Piedmont Avenue, parts of Temescal, and Adams Point are genuinely lovely. But if you're moving to Oakland based on a cheap listing without understanding the neighborhood, you can find yourself in a situation that's harder than you bargained for. Oakland tops this list not because there's no good Oakland, there is, but because the gap between safe Oakland and dangerous Oakland is enormous, and the dangerous parts are genuinely among the most dangerous places in America.
So there it is, 15 California towns where the home prices look like a steal until you understand the full picture. Cheap is never just cheap in California. It usually means crime, pollution, isolation, poor air, or some combination of all four. Now hear me. Every single one of these cities has good people, good neighborhoods, and residents who genuinely love their hometown. The lesson isn't to avoid them entirely. The lesson is to visit, walk the blocks, talk to locals, and go in with eyes open. Which town surprised you most? Drop it in the comments. If this helped, smash like, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.